Mr. Thomas Sparks, welcome to Life, Death, and the Law.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you. We've never really sat down and chatted about who Tom Sparks really is deep down.
Yeah, right.
What makes this guy tick?
Right, yeah.
What brought you to Yuma? And why do you do the things that you do?
Right.
I was wondering, coming into this, I was like, I've never even asked him why he became a lawyer.
That's a good question.
Since a little lad, were you always just like, Mommy, Daddy, I want to be a lawyer?
Not since I was a little lad, but since I was a lad, yes, I would say.
Really?
Yeah, I would say yes. Just for the average listener out here, I've been here for 2 years. Just wanted to let you know that. By popular demand, yes. The phones keep ringing off the hook, and they say, Tom, we want to hear you on the radio. And by popular demand, here I am. So I thank the people of Yuma for bringing me here back to this radio station. To get to know me, yes, it starts back, I would say, I'm young. It's mostly, I would say, my dad's influence. He is an intellectual guy, and I think he revered the profession of lawyer, so he kind of always had to put that seed in my head of like, hey, that would be cool. And it just so happened to also fit my personality, so it just meshed. And
What do you mean by that?
fit my personality? Yeah. If you know me, I like to debate. I like to argue. I like digging into the nitty gritty. I always think I'm right.
I was going to say, do you feel like you think you're always right?
Yeah, all the time. And
Have you ever been proven wrong?
yeah, I have, and I don't like it.
You don't like that?
So the fact that I don't like when I lose like a little argument, I think was a good signal. Like that might be the right place for me as a profession.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how young were you, would you guess, when you're
know.
like, this is what I want to pursue, or at least it's it's on the far off distance as a goal?
Yeah, I'd say by the time I got it centered and what I wanted to do, I was in high school at that point.
Oh, really?
Probably,
Okay.
A teenage, 15, 16 years old. I'm like, yeah, I'll probably do law school.
And so you've been with us for 2 years. You came to us through the Bridge program from the Marine Corps.
Yes.
You were a JAG officer,
Yes.
just like Tom Cruise.
Yeah, except he's Navy.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a Navy JAG.
Marines are Navy, right?
Marines are Navy. We are the Department of the Navy. Do you know which department we are?
The Marine Department.
The Men's Department.
The Men's Department.
That's what we are. So yes, I am like
Are you
Tom.
serious about that?
Yeah, the Men's
What
Department.
does that mean?
It's like a dig at the Navy. We always tease each other.
I see,
We're all part of the Navy, but if you're a man, you're a Marine.
Okay. I see.
So, and they have all of the disses back on us. I won't repeat them, but they have plenty that they give us back.
I've told you this. We went to Boston a couple of years ago, Sean and I,
Yeah.
for continuing education courses.
Mm-hmm.
And so as part of that, we took him. I'd been there before, but he and Brittany were with me and my wife.
Mm-hmm.
And so in our not class time, we took him to Old Ironsides.
Oh, cool.
It's an old ship from the Revolution.
Yeah.
And still in active duty for the Navy.
Yeah.
And so because it's an active duty, they have active duty military personnel that walk you through tours, like they're manning the ship.
Cool.
Super cool. And so they were the ones that were talking about the relationship that's existed between the Marine Corps and the Navy. Like originally, this is my understanding of what they told me, was they didn't really get along because it was the Marines that were the ones that were the enforcers on the ships.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if something's going wrong, like they were the snitches.
Right. Yeah. They would be like the MPs on the base, but they're MPs on the ship essentially. And they were in charge of throwing people in the brig, disciplining people, carrying out the captain's orders.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like most probably general population sailors probably didn't like them because they were the ones getting them in trouble.
Uh-huh.
But eventually it grew out of that to where when you have like ship to ship combat, you have people who are willing to swing over and jump on an enemy ship and start fighting them on their ship, and that's the birth of the Marine Corps was, kicking down doors and jumping over to other people's ships and taking them out.
So when was the Marine Corps actually formed?
So November 10th, 1775 is when it was. The idea was birthed in Tun Tavern, and so we are.
Where's that?
Tun Tavern. Where is Tun Tavern? Like in the East Massachusetts, or I can't recall exactly where it's at. 8th and I is like one of our first, 8th Avenue and I it's like the first barracks, Marine Corps barracks is still there. It's kind of like Ironsides where it still, houses Marines, and
Really?
it's more of I would say like a touristy place now. But yeah, so long, rich history, but that was what drew me to it. My dad's a Marine, and I originally thought I could join the Air Force or the Navy. Those are fine services, but I didn't want to go back to Thanksgiving dinner and have my dad be a Marine and me be an airman. No offense, but it just wouldn't work. So that's what I did and jumped through the hoops. It was difficult, but taught me a lot of lessons. And
so you went, but you decided to go to law school first before joining the Marines, right?
I did, yeah. So I went to college at U of A and then graduated there, and then went to law school at Gonzaga. And then my second year, or after my first year, I started talking to the selection officer to try to get approved, because it's a very competitive process.
Yeah.
And not everyone who applies gets in. And so I started the process after my first year. I got accepted to basically try out for officer candidate school, which is the equivalent of boot camp for officers. And that was my second summer of law school. I did that instead of a regular internship that most law students do. And then after I passed that program, which was 10 weeks, I commissioned as a lieutenant, second lieutenant, and then went back to law school and finished my third year. And then went out to the fleet. First, actually, before the fleet, I did do more training in Quantico. And I was on the East Coast for 9 months to a year, and then I came out here for my duty station.
At MCAS?
Yep.
Okay. And so you served there for how many years? 4?
Yeah, just about 4. Most of the time I did, it's called being a staff judge advocate. So every commanding officer has a lawyer, like their pocket lawyer, who basically advises them on all things discipline, legalities of certain things, and because they're running the base, so they run into a pretty large breadth of different legal issues they can run into. So that was my job, is advising the commanding officer of MCIS, making sure he stayed on the straight and narrow and didn't get himself in trouble, which never really gave me any cause to concern to begin with, but you always want to have a lawyer to double check stuff.
Yeah.
So
was your time there at the Marine Corps, a lot of it was from your stories to me, it's like Marines, young kids doing dumb stuff.
Pretty much. Yeah, when it comes to discipline, it's rambunctious young kids who have money in their pocket, and they've got all the swagger that comes with being a United States Marine, and sometimes it bubbles over.
What was the most common offense, would you say?
Going out drinking out in town and getting in fights.
Fights?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the number one. What's the most serious thing you ever saw? Can you talk about it?
Yeah, I could talk about it. The most serious one I saw, we had a Marine who got a DUI, drove his vehicle through a business out in town, put his vehicle through the wall. So there was a lot of damage there. Typically what happens is if you get charged with a crime out in town, there's 2 different jurisdictions there that can charge you. You can be charged under the Marine Corps, under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, because we're our own court system in the military, or UMA, Arizona, the state can charge you. So typically if you're getting charged by one, the other one just kind of lets it alone. So when crimes happen out in town, we generally don't prosecute. We mainly just let the state take care of it.
You coordinate, though, pretty closely with let's say the city attorney?
Not necessarily. Really all we do is, I'll make sure, or I did make sure, that charges were being brought. And if they were, I would let the CO know this is what's happening out in town. My recommendation is just let them handle it. And then...
What's the CO?
The commanding officer.
So where does he rank, or she?
He's the highest ranking member on this base. He's a colonel.
Oh, so the CO is the colonel.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot. So the CO of the base is a colonel, and he's over the installation. He owns all the property there. He owns the gun ranges. He owns the airport and everything. And There's several different lower level commands. We call them tenant commands because they're like tenants for a landlord. The colonel being the landlord. There's a lot of O5 commanders, which are lieutenant colonels, who are one rank lower than him, who run their own commands, and they do discipline for themselves. And I advised some of them on disciplinary issues, but they weren't in my immediate orbit. But no matter what happens, the base CO needs to know what's happening on all disciplinary actions on his base. So that's especially if it happened in Yuma, because he's such a presence in the community.
How many COs did you go through during your time?
Station COs, I went through 2. I started with Colonel Dudick, and he's I think in Camp Pendleton now. Oh. He's the chief of staff for the general, I believe, over in Camp Pendleton. And then
that's a step up.
Yeah, he's the same rank, but I would say as far as his billet, like he's moving in the upward direction for sure. And then Colonel Stone came in right before I left. He's the current CO of the base, and he probably has another year, I think.
Did you ever notice differences in managerial styles?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Totally different people, different ways of getting things done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Was one bit more effective than the other?
No, I'd say they were both effective in their own way. Yeah, it's fine.
But you had good relationships with both?
Yep. Yes, I did. That was fortunate. And then I had other lower commanding officers of like those tenant commands that I dealt with probably more closely when it comes to, hey, I have this Marine. This is what they did. What can I do? What can I charge him with? What can we put him in the brig? Is that too much? Should you just put him on restriction? There's like there's a menu of disciplinary actions that you can pick from, but they all have their own different requirements.
How big is the brig?
The brig at Yuma is not big. And I don't think we even run our brig anymore. We used to, but we didn't have the manpower to keep it open all the time. So if it was fully staffed and operational, it could probably hold like 8 to 10 people. And
is it just a room or two, or
yeah? So there was
movies when you get put in jail for the night.
Yeah, it didn't quite look like that, but there's like a common area. There are a few individual cells. There's like the rec area outside, but it was very small. But most of the time, if people have to go to the brig, they get taken to Miramar or Pendleton.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So it's like a whole arrest. You get arrested.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a full deal.
It's just jail. Yeah.
And they stay in.
Mm-hmm.
They stay in the Corps. You just have to put some time in jail?
Yeah, so typically what happens is you have this phase, right? So you've got the same rights as you have here, outside of civilian world. Not all of those rights, but most of them, especially when it comes to criminal law. Okay. So yeah, if you do something bad and there's probable cause to put you in the brig, it's called pretrial confinement, just like you would outside. Like you would say, I'm going to put you in jail. You're not getting bail until we get this sorted out. So you're going to stay in jail during your court proceedings. And then based on what the CO wants to do, he has a clock of, how long, I think it's 120 days. I have to look at that number to bring charges officially. Otherwise, the right to speedy trial is violated. So yeah, there could be a long time that you're just sitting in there waiting for the CO to charge you, and then there's some cases where the CO doesn't, and then you just get let out, and you're like, well, what was I in there for? And you're like, well.
What is the CO, in your experience, like? Is he really attuned to what's going on, or he's got lower people dealing with that? He just gets like a memo.
Gotcha. No, if it's that serious, he's directly involved.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he's gonna make the call.
Yeah, he has to make the call for sure.
And that's why he needs you to advise him? Is that what you were doing? You're like, hey, Gonzalez he's put in the brig because this, and this. Mm-hmm. And we probably have a really strong case because the evidence shows blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Preliminary evidence that we have.
Yep.
Or you'll say, we don't got enough probable cause or evidence to bring charges.
Yeah, and typically, most of the time, it wasn't dealing with, the brig or pretrial confinement. It was, the Marine was just released on their own recognizance, they're doing their own thing, but we have evidence that a crime was committed. The question was, do we have enough evidence to go to court-martial? And I would advise, talk to them about the rules of evidence. Like, you might not want to pursue that because that's hearsay. It's not coming in, or
you do a mini trial before the trial. I mean, essentially, you're doing a mock trial, playing it out in your mind.
Yep, I'm writing him a memo saying, here's all the reasons why you probably won't win. It's my advice you don't go to court-martial, or you have a really strong case. Here's why you probably should pursue it.
Is that the only remedy, is court-martial?
Nope. There's lots of lesser ones. So there's NJP, which is non-judicial punishment.
Okay.
That's kind of like a plea deal. The Marine who in question has to accept it. They have they have a right to deny it, and
then they get court-martialed.
And pursue court-martial. And that in and of itself is like a game of chicken.
There you go. Okay, so you're bringing charges. The CO decides to actually go forward because Tom Sparks, Judge Advocate Tom Sparks, has said, "Yeah, he says we don't have a good
case at court-martial,
and but we can get him on some stuff.
Yeah,
we're pretty confident we can get him on something, and this is the remedy, or at least the punishment that we think would be akin or attuned to what is fitting.
Yeah,
and then that Marine says no.
Yep.
Let's go all the way.
Yep, exactly.
Take me to trial.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. So
Did you do that?
Did I take him to trial?
I mean, did that happen often? Usually the Marines like, I'm in out over my head. I don't know what's going on. They're young, naive, and there's like, I'll take what you give me.
Most of the time. So before I get too much further, the Marines, they're defense Marine attorneys as well.
Oh, so wow. Okay.
And all my good buddies, which is like, it's an interesting dynamic because you're going up against your friends most of the time. That makes
sense.
Yeah. And you get rotated around. So like 1 year you might be a prosecutor. The next year you're a defense attorney. So it behooves you to have good relationships and not burn bridges because, next year you might be in that guy's shoes.
Okay. And you don't take it personal.
Yeah, you don't take it personally. You try not to.
Did you?
No, I was never in a litigation billet here. I was always in that advising in-house counsel role.
You don't get to choose, or you do?
No, it's needs in the Marine Corps. They put you where they want
you. You lucked out, I would say then. Right?
Yeah, as far as the stress, I would say being a staff judge advocate's a lot less stressful than being a trial attorney.
Yeah, one of my favorite movies, and I think yours too, is A Few Good Men, and so that's where you get to see this play out.
Yeah.
How true to life do you think that was? I mean, besides the theatrics, because you do have that dynamic between Jack,
Colonel Jessup, or Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon,
yeah.
I think his name is Jack.
Yeah, that's
against
right.
Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
So he was a defensive.
Caffey?
He was a prosecutor.
Yeah, he's a Marine Corps prosecutor.
And Caffney was the
defense.
Was the defense in that particular case. So they don't get to choose in that. It comes to, you get to see their relationship, and that makes a lot more sense now, where they are adversarial, but at the same time they're still going to the bar together. They're still
yeah, exactly. That they do a pretty good job of that. The theatrics are maybe a little over the top with Colonel Jessup's testimony, but it's pretty good when it comes to the military side, especially with the Marine Corps in the infantry, because that's the whole premise of the movie is there's some hazing incident in the infantry, and like the whole argument is like they're a different breed. They have to act that way or else people die, as Jack Nicholson would say.
I think it's a good ethical point that's brought up, because you find yourself, he persuaded me, Colonel Jessup, when he's going on his rant or whatever. It's like that a Marine is to understand the order, and you do the order, or else people die, and that is. Might be too simplistic, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, as you get more life experiences, I've got more life experience, you definitely see his point is war is always nasty, and you have to have a special type of person to be able to go in and do those things.
We talked about this yesterday, where I made the comment of, I've asked you this in the past. We had a recent guest, Josh Pimbleton. He was a former Green Beret, and I asked him the question on the podcast where I asked, what are you fighting for? Is it really your country? Because I find it hard to believe if I was in those situations. I watch these movies like Saving Private Ryan or was it Four Brothers or whatever it was called? And you see these guys putting their lives literally on the line. I asked myself, would I be willing to do that? I don't think so. If I felt like I was just a pawn in a big game and dispensable, I wouldn't risk my life for that.
Right.
I feel like that's a waste of my life.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've talked to people, especially who like senior officers and senior Marines in time to myself who fought during the early years of the global war on terror, like 2001 to 2006, where, you know, it was really hopping over in the Middle East. Like we were getting in a lot of like very deadly and, you know, lots of casualty, you know, gunfights. Like some of the most deadly fighting that Marines have done since Vietnam was in Iraq or in Fallujah, the Battle of Fallujah. And so you ask those people, now that we've left and we don't have a presence there anymore in the Middle East, really, do you feel like it was all for nothing? And I've heard some of them say, like, yeah, like I wonder, like, why? What was the point? Like, I lost a lot of good friends there, and now we just kind of left and we gave up, and that's how some of them feel. So yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. But
What do you feel?
I mean, I always thought, like, you have these wars, I think, that we've been fighting probably since Korea. Like Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, they're very similar wars. Like we go in and we're occupying. We don't really have a clear enemy. We don't have a clear goal. In World War II, it's very easy to tell when you've won. Like Germany surrenders, marks the end of the war. We all go back home. When you're fighting a terrorist organization that is really not like the political party of the state, like how do you know when you've won? Like no one can wave the white flag and surrender. It's just like you're kind of always just maintaining. And as soon as the public opinion shifts to not support the war anymore, you bring the troops back, and then what you are maintaining without that presence just kind of pops back up. So I think we go into these wars not realizing how long we would have to be there to make it successful, and the public and, you know, the political swings happen too often in the country to really get any long-term success. Like I think the same thing happened in Vietnam, especially.
Yeah. Is it our job to police the world?
I would say no, it's not. Like it's our job to look out for our self-interest, and that's what the military is it's a violence, like it's a tool for violence to obtain America's political objectives. And that's where it's employed. That's why it's employed. So if America has a political objective that can only be achieved through violence, that's when you use the military.
In these cases of like Vietnam, Korea, Iraq, what's going on today in Ukraine, right? What's your opinion? Should we be there helping? Should we take a more backseat role and just support politically? What should we do?
I don't know. It's a really good question. Like, cause in one hand, I see like, yeah, like I want to like the Christian deaths over in Africa, right? Where you've heard President Trump say, wait, we're going to go over there and we're going to police that country so Christians don't die. And it's like, well, that's a noble cause, but is it worth the sons and daughters of Americans to police that cause? I don't know. Like, I'd like to save those people, but it comes at a price, especially with Russia and Ukraine. I think a lot of people, they say, like, why don't we just go in there and do what we did in Afghanistan? Let's go and occupy and let's push Russia back, and, you know, no consequences will come from that. Like, I just think that's a little naive. Like, they have nukes. Like, they're a nuclear power. You can't treat them the same as the Middle East, who don't have any really big retaliation powers. So there is kind of like this jockeying where you've got to respect Russia, Vladimir Putin, to like take control of his own political objectives. And that would be, I guess that's my question, is what's our political objective there? Is it to just hem Russia in and say, we don't want you to get too strong, and that's our political objective? Then I think if you go there, you have to be willing to fight a war.
And why now? I mean, this isn't new. Russia's always power grabbed in the past. These past states that used to be part of Russia or the USSR, and So this isn't a new thing. Why now? Why are why Ukraine? Is it because of where it's geographically located and the access to ports and knocking on the door of Germany? And like, why Ukraine? Why all of a sudden is this such a priority of the United States to defend?
Yeah, I don't know if there's any logical reason as to why now. I think it reminds me of a lot of like World War II with, Adolf Hitler. He was grabbing up a lot of land, and we had an appeasement approach, the U.S. and Europe, saying, okay, like we'll just this one country, or okay, you can take Poland, I guess, but no further than that. And then he just kept going until someone was willing to fight a war over it. And
do you think there's sorry to cut you off,
yeah.
in our modern time, do you think there's a Hitler out there? Do you think Putin is a Hitler that has an actual desire to take over the world, if you will, or at least Europe?
Yeah, I don't think he wants to take over the world. And I wouldn't compare Vladimir Putin to Hitler. I mean, it's that Hitler his name gets thrown out so much as like a catch-all for evil. But I think Vladimir Putin absolutely wants to reestablish the USSR and bring greatness back to Russia. Like, absolutely he does. So is the world okay with that? Like, I don't know. Is that a terrible thing? I mean, the countries who would be taken over probably think that's terrible, and they would probably all want the U.S. to step in.
Yeah.
Because they can't defend themselves realistically. Even though Ukraine has done a pretty good job, like so far.
The guerrilla warfare.
Yeah.
Drone warfare.
Yeah, the drone warfare. Yeah. They're just taking Best Buy drones and slapping C4 to them.
I love it.
It's pretty.
With their meta glasses.
Yeah, they're just driving them into vehicles.
That's all you talk to me about lately is meta glasses. Did you see the meta glasses at Best Buy?
Yeah, they're expensive.
Black Friday's coming up.
Yeah,
so.
who knows? Maybe I'll peruse the glasses.
There you go. It's your early Christmas present.
Yeah, to myself.
Yeah.
Just won't tell my wife.
You go to law school. You end up getting into the can I call it JAG?
Yeah. I'm
JAG
judge advocate. Yep. So that's like the one difference I would say. Like you've heard like this phrase called the JAG Corps. That is a Navy thing. Like you have the Corps, CORPS, corps of people. And in the Navy, you're all part of your own corps. So like it's like a team, the JAG Corps. The Marine Corps is all one corps. And that's where the phrase, every Marine a rifleman, comes from. So I'm a part of the Marine Corps. Every Marine's a rifleman at the end of the day. I have a job specialty of being an attorney, but we're all infantrymen.
If it comes down to it in war,
yeah,
you're going to be on the ground with anybody else.
If I need to.
If they need you to.
Yeah, if I need to be, I'm trained at least basically to lead a platoon of Marines in combat.
Do you ever feel like you get treated or got treated like you're more of a pansy than the others because you went the law school route first and you come in automatically as an officer above everybody else?
Oh yeah, like by other officers, you mean? Or just anyone?
Sure.
Not really.
Anybody.
Not really officers in general, but like there's a famous phrase like in the Marine Corps, like or in the in the services in general, like it's being called a POG. Have you heard that term? No. POG. It's an acronym. It means person other than grunt.
Okay.
Like a grunt's an infantryman. So like there's definitely like this like dynamic of if you're not in the infantry, you're not a real Marine. Like
you haven't paid your dues.
Like we're real Marines because we actually do the Marine Corps life on a daily basis. Everyone else is a POG. Like you're like, yeah, like you're second fiddle, third fiddle. And like, to be fair, like they got a point. Like the infantry dudes, like they're legit, they're the hard chargers kicking down doors every day.
Yeah.
And like they really lay their life on the line, like when it comes down to it.
And there are officers at that level as well, right?
Yeah, there are infantry officers, and then those guys are high speed.
Are they really?
Yeah, they're super qualified. They're super smart individuals.
What does it take to go that route then?
So
you don't go to become an officer right out of, or an officer like you did. I mean, you went all the way through law school, but you don't have to do that. You could just get your bachelor's degree, right?
Right. So whatever route you're going to go, you can go into the Marine Corps with 3 different contracts. You can be a ground contract, which is miscellaneous, a flight contract, meaning that you will be a pilot of some sort of platform, whether it's an Osprey or an F-35 or whatever. And then there's a law contract. So if you make it through the Marine Corps training program, you will be a lawyer. But if you're a ground contract, you get your MOS or your specialty after you go through the training pipeline, which is the basic school.
Yeah.
That's where all officers learn the infantry tactics for 6 months. And it's a rough school. Like it's not easy to get through. And
Did you see people quit?
not really at that point. Like most of the people get washed out at officer candidate school, like the boot camp level. And that probably has like a 60% like pass rate. And
What do you think that is? Both mental and physical, or mostly mental?
I would say it's both. Like if you're not physically prepared, you get weeded out really early, like within the first week, like because you're running fitness tests just to see if like you came prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but once you're through the program, I would say it's more mental. Like, can you handle the stress that they put you under? Can you perform under pressure? And if you can't, they just send you home because they're really selective of who they take in the officer side.
Mentally,
Yeah, because I mean you're at you're going to have lives in your hands, especially if you're an infantry officer. You're going to make decisions that will either put your Marines in harm's way, or you have to be willing to be able to do that to accomplish the mission sometimes. And can you make that hard decision?
How do the higher ups make those choices? Like, this is a good candidate for an officer in the infantry.
Yeah, so there's like a rubric, there's a grading program of like you do tasks, like did you successfully complete the task? And most of the time it doesn't matter if you actually did it right. It matters like did you do it with confidence? Were you able to, under extreme stress, people yelling, chaos, be able to like lead your peers to accomplish your task, or at least point them in the right direction.
Is this part of what you did as well?
Yeah.
Your officer school?
Yeah, so everyone does that.
Where you're out in the wilderness and you play a game?
Yeah, you LARP around in the woods.
What's that mean?
Live action role play. Yeah, so you're pretending, you go and you do your fake missions, you have blanks, you're carrying your rifle still, you lead in OCS, it's fire team and squad size.
OCS?
Officer candidate school.
Okay.
So that's the boot camp. So you're leading like groups of 4 at most, like maybe a group of 8. At the basic school, you're leading like a platoon, so it's like a group of 40.
Wow.
And like you're trying to be
Is
like
that group broken up into subgroups?
Yeah, 3 squads.
3 squads in a platoon?
Yeah, 3 squads in a platoon. And typically there wouldn't be, let's see, is there 412? Yeah, I think there's about 42 in a platoon usually. Because you have 3 fire teams in each squad, and each fire team has 4 people. So you've got
Fire team, those are the guys shooting?
Yeah, so all of you shoot, but it's just the hierarchy. So a fire team's a group of 4. There are 3 fire teams in a squad. There are 3 squads in a platoon. There are 4 platoons in a company. There's 4 or 5 companies in a battalion.
Jeez.
And then battalions in a regiment. And
But battalions don't move very much anymore, right? We don't move battalions places. That's a lot of guys.
No, usually it's depends. Like basically just patrolling. That's the idea. It's called
Trolling?
Trolling.
Not
Yeah.
trolling?
Yeah,
Oh.
no, we do definitely troll China. They troll us. It's called, I forgot what it stands for, but the acronym is FONOPS. Like Freedom of Navigation Operations is what it's called, the FONOP. It basically, there's under maritime law, there's certain parts of the ocean that are navigable, that are free. International waters, anyone can go in there, freedom of navigation. But there's a distance between like shorelines where you're now in territorial waters of the country in which it borders. So what a FONOP is basically the Navy, the Marine Corps, driving through water that another country is saying is theirs, and we're just like basically giving them the bird, and like we're sailing through this water because we're recognizing it as international waters. So that's what a freedom of navigation operation is.
And so these Marines, they go out on this MEU, and I imagine that'd be like, if I was in charge of that group,
Yeah.
I'd be a basket case, because you got these young kids coming out of high school.
Yeah.
Some of them didn't even graduate high school.
Yeah.
That's why they went to the Marines.
That's right. Yeah.
And they're just wreaking havoc on all these port towns.
Yeah, exactly. They'll go to the port. They'll go to the bars, go to the clubs, do a bunch of damage. That's like one of the responsibilities of the JAG. There's always a judge advocate on the MEU, usually one or two.
Okay.
They're pretty prestigious billets, I would say. They're very, like, a lot of people want to do it. So if you don't want to do it, you usually don't get selected because there's plenty of volunteers. But one of their favorite things to do is they call it making it rain, where they'll go around with money to all of the establishments that the Marines damaged while they were in port, and basically just pay them off to like forget about that they were there. And, there's pictures of business owners love the Marines, giving thumbs up and saying it's all good. Like, cause obviously like $1,000 USD is way more than the window costs, but it's,
Sure.
it's just forget about what you saw.
It's our hard taxpayer money at work.
Yep. Making it rain.
Making it rain.
Yeah.
Actually, I agree with that. That's okay. I would use my money for that.
Yeah. Hearts and minds. That's all.
There's a lot of tax stuff that I don't agree with, but
yeah,
that I'm okay with.
Yeah. Hearts and minds. You got to keep the hearts and minds of people.
So what's the dynamic then? I mean, you're saying you come onto this ship as an officer, but you kind of like cheated your way to the officership, right? Because you went through school.
Like rank wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be a weird dynamic because, you got these infantrymen that have been doing this for 2 decades. Yeah.
No, that's a real thing. It's very much, you've got young officers who have their own, like, because there's a stark, I would say, divide between the officers and the enlisted Marines. And they have to work together, obviously, but General Lejeune, who's a famous general in the Marine Corps, he described it as a father-son relationship. So these officers are supposed to take these enlisted Marines and treat them like their sons. So you're not friends with your junior Marines. You need to mentor them. But where the sticking point is if you're a very young officer, you have a senior enlisted advisor who's really mentoring you because they've been on deployments. They're helping you lead the troops, if you will. But there's a lot of friction there where you've got like kind of what happens often is the senior enlisted advisor might start to kind of trample on the young officer because it's easier for them just to do it themselves and they've got all the experience, but they need to realize that part of their job is to mentor this young officer to become a good senior officer eventually. So, but that's definitely a friction point because, egos get in the way. A young officer doesn't want to feel like they're being pushed around by someone who technically is not, that they technically outrank, but only in rank only, not in experience. And then on the other side, you have a senior enlisted advisor who doesn't want a young, bright-eyed lieutenant who's 22 years old, straight out of college, telling them how to run a platoon that they've been doing for 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever see where like an infantryman, after all these years of being deployed and service, decides, actually, I am going to go be an officer?
Yeah, that does happen. There's a term for that. We call it Mustang. When somebody...
It's a sweet term.
Yeah, it's a cool term. It sounds really cool. It is cool. Like,
it is cool.
They are like some of the best officers
Mustang.
I've seen. Yeah, like they have all the experience of an enlisted Marine. Like you're wild, out of control, Maverick, like that kind of thing.
We got to rein you in.
Yeah. So they have all the experience of an enlisted Marine, which is great. They move over to the officer side, sometimes called the dark side. When you go to the officers, you join the dark side. And they do great because they have all the experience. But I have seen a few times where you get enlisted Marines who move to become officers and they do not do well. And I think the reason for that is they can't drop the enlisted Marine mentality. Which is you're one of the boys.
Oh, okay.
You're gonna get things done. You're a trigger puller. There's a certain way enlisted Marines handle discipline, and then officers are supposed to kind of be elevated above the trenches, if you will. So you have these people who are used to being in the trenches. They're now an officer, and they can't divorce themselves with that old mentality. And that leads to, I would say, a breakdown of customs courtesies and a breakdown of leadership and respect because...
I see.
You don't respect your friends the same way you respect your boss. or your parents, for example.
Well, what if like an officer goes to a birthday party with some of the people in his
unit?
Yeah.
Yeah, typically not allowed. I mean, for special events, like if there's a junior Marine, it's his birthday, you could take the whole unit out and celebrate together because there's no, it's like unit building and camaraderie, but an officer wouldn't be allowed to go and just hang out with enlisted Marines on the weekend. That's called fraternization, and it's actually against military law. Yeah, so that would, fraternization against military law, that's actually a crime in the military for an officer to do that. And
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, the whole
But
thing.
I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
Once you explain it.
It's very different, though, from what you'd find out in the civilian world.
Yeah.
Because it's all about good order and discipline. Like, if what you're doing is eroding good order and discipline, and it's eroding the faith that the enlisted have in their officers, or vice versa, like the unit's going to suffer. And, maybe when we're all in Yuma and we're in a training command, like where this is like a training base where a lot of pilots train here. So we're not really deploying very often, at least, the headquarters squadron, which I was a part of. Maybe you can get a little bit more relaxed and things kind of get pushed to the side about, oh, well, that's not really fraternization. But at the end of the day, you can't do it, especially if you're a deploying unit. Like, you have to keep those lines clear.
But sometimes you go to church with these guys, right?
Yeah, that would be I think one of the unique examples of where fraternization really doesn't apply. I think you still have to be careful. Like, you can associate with people at your church because, I think the Constitution obviously trumps
everything.
Trumps the UCMJ, and you have the freedom of establishment of your religion and to practice it as you see fit. And yeah, if there's an enlisted Marine that I go to church with, they don't call me sir. I don't call them anything else. It's brother so and so, sister so and so, and that's what it is. It's just an understanding.
It's a unspoken understanding.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you could pull rank if you wanted to.
Probably not. In church, probably not. It depends how long they've been out. If they're a salty vet who's been in 20 years and enlisted, like, I feel like as a young officer, I feel an honor that those men and women refer to me as sir, like customs and courtesies, because they've seen more than I have. They've been in the Corps longer than I have, but it's the true understanding. They truly get how it's supposed to work by signaling to me that they know what my rank is and that it deserves that respect. Like, that's somebody who truly understands how the military works.
I get the impression, I don't know if this is real or not, but I get the impression that when military people retire and they come into civilian life, maybe it's a workplace, maybe it's a grocery store, it says, I feel like they might probably have a hard time adapting just because of, like you're saying, if you're expecting these courtesies, you're saluted every time you enter a room, and now you're not. In fact, a lot of times people could care less that you served in the military.
Right, yeah.
Or they think lesser of you because oh, that's just for people that couldn't make it in high school, so they went to the military. I'm not saying that's true, or it should be true. I'm saying that I think is a common misconception.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are a lot of adjustment issues, and like you see it in all aspects of the military. Like, at best, it's maybe they get frustrated they're not taken as seriously as they once were because they had this job where they were really important and everyone wanted to know what their opinion was, and now they leave and they're just working a random job and no one cares. They're back at the bottom of the totem pole and they're the new guy again, and that can be frustrating. At worst, you see it on the other side of the scale where you have PTSD, where you're used to deploying and doing a lot of high intensity stuff, and you're exposed to a lot of terrible things and adrenaline, and that scars you, and then you come back where it's not the same pace. That can result in frustration. I saw a podcast with I think he was a SEAL, a Navy SEAL, but he was talking to I think it was Sean Ryan. You might have seen his podcast. He was saying that instead of PTSD, he said he had a lack of traumatic stress disorder, is what he called it. A lack
of traumatic stress?
Yeah, that's what he says. I would always be keyed in and I'm always expecting something hyper stressful to happen, and then all of a sudden when I have all that stress taken off of me, I'm don't know what to do with myself. I'm anxious because I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have any direction.
Interesting.
And like that, the level, freedom, like the level of, I would say, expertise that these special forces guys and then the infantry guys have, and the level of camaraderie they have, I don't think you can find it really anywhere else except for the military. So when they leave, they have this big void. And I think that's where you see veterans that struggle with maybe alcohol abuse, drug abuse, suicide. It's that void that cannot be filled.
Like I'm not worth anything anymore. I'm not.
Yeah.
I have nothing.
I lost everything of value. I lost my brotherhood.
That's who I am. That's what I was.
Right.
Interesting.
And it can't be replaced. There's no substitute.
Not in the civilian world. Right?
Yeah. Mm-mm.
Interesting. You talked about these hard situations that you had to go through, officer school and all that stuff, and I wonder if God played a part in your psyche as you went through that. Like, did that get you through? What was the rock that got you through besides your wife?
Yeah. My wife.
Use that cliche.
Yeah. Shout outs to Kara, my wife, my rock. Absolutely. Religion, God, belief in God definitely got me through hard trainings, stressful situations. And I would share that with others. Like I noticed some people who struggle, who don't have any genuine purpose. Like I believe I joined the Marine Corps because I felt like that's what God wanted me to do. It's where I was led and guided to go do that. It was not on my bingo card to go get like yelled at, screamed at, crawl through mud, all this stuff. But I felt like it's what he wanted me to do, and I always felt I had his support. And I would try to pass that on to other people, because it's easier to do something when you feel like you're supposed to be there, when it's not just you doing it on a whim. So I had that advantage of, also I had a wife and kids at home that were financially dependent on me. Like failure wasn't an option. So I didn't want to come back and be a failure that way. So those are big motivating factors. But I think it's life in general. Like I'm a religious person. I believe that God's up there. He's a heavenly parent, just like I want to mentor and guide my kids to what will bring them happiness. He wants to do that too.
I get caught in the mindset sometimes, and it just happened a couple of weeks ago where I had a renewal of an epiphany that I've had before in my life, but it just came back again because I was really trying to work through this problem logically, and it just wasn't working, and I was super frustrated. Like, why isn't this going the way I want it to go? Yeah. And, this is logical. This should be the way it is. This is what God should want. Yeah. And then it was like a lightning bolt to my mind. Just like, God's not always logical. Like he doesn't have to work logically at what I would, define as logical, or what the world would define as logical. And, I was trying to stick him in my box. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And I've lost sight of the fact that he knows me better than I know myself, and he knows the situation, and he knows the long game. Right. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I should have. Yeah.
Everything's before him. Yeah. The scriptures. Yeah. They say his ways are higher than our ways, and what might not appear logical from right in front of us, if you had a 10,000 or 50,000 foot view, maybe it is logical. Yeah. But even if it isn't, it's his show. He gets to do whatever he wants, right? Like I think of, I always reminded of, like, I get reminded by that by watching my young kids, because my youngest is just turned 2. So he has, fun time playing with toys, but sometimes he gets frustrated if he can't figure out how to make something open up or work. And I'll watch him just with interest, saying, like, can he figure this out? Is he going to do it? And sometimes he doesn't. He gets frustrated, but he doesn't want me to come help him. He doesn't want me to do it. He wants to do it. And I look at that, I think that's probably how God looks at me. Like this little frustrated 2-year-old who's, trying to make his life work. And if I would just ask for help, he would give it to me, but I'm too prideful to ask.
Interesting.
And if I would just take time to go ask, how should I do this? How should I approach this? Just like I would, of course, help my own child, God would help anybody else who asked to.
I love it. Yeah. And again, it doesn't have to be logical.
Yeah. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it, and you receive the witness that it was the right thing to do after you do it. You don't get to know that beforehand.
Maybe that's the test, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's how faith works. It's not faith if you know it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So your faith helped you through, well, it guided you to the Marine Corps. You said your dad was a Marine, and so you felt like that's what you wanted to do, but
Yeah.
But you got through it because of your faith. I'm interested to know, were there some that didn't make it through, as you went through this process?
Yeah, there are some. So at Officer Candidate School, or OCS, which is like the boot camp, I think there was like a 40% attrition rate there. So a little over half of us made it through.
Yeah, that's pretty high, right?
Yeah. So
Because of psychology or
yeah,
physical?
both. I mean, towards the beginning, it's physical because they try to weed you out physically to make sure you came prepared. And those who are prepared physically move on, but then throughout the training, it becomes more of a mental battle because there's only so many miles you can run. There's only so many hours in the day you can exercise, but the mental battle can occur all the time. And that's what it was, is could you operate and lead your peers in, fake missions, or whether we were like patrolling in the woods trying to like do, replicate what we would do in combat under stressful circumstances, whether that's sergeant instructors like screaming in your face or, crawling through mud under barbed wire or whatever it is. And then being able to have the mental capacity to put all those things to the side and still engage with the mission and lead. And not only lead yourself, but that's the call of an officer, is to lead others too. So.
I think you nailed it. Like in the very beginning, we talked about like what motivates a person to risk their life, put their life on the line for. I think the go-to answer is your country, but there's sometimes I'm like, why would I? I feel like we're putting people in harm's way for no apparent reason or goal, or maybe it's to please the particular political party at the time.
Yeah.
And then in that case, it's like, what's the worth of that guy's life or that gal's life?
Yeah.
Right? Nothing, really. It's just, what a waste.
Yeah.
And I think you nailed it, where a lot of the service members I talk to, I always ask this question because I see those movies, Saving Private Ryan, Four Brothers, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know if I could ever do that,
Yeah.
if it's for my country. I mean, I love my country. I love my country. I'm so glad that I'm who I am and where I was born. But knowing that sometimes we're in a fight that we probably, why are we even there,
Yeah.
I think you hit it on the head where you're like, it's the brotherhood, or it's the camaraderie. You're fighting for the guy next to you in his life, not in countries in the background, but mostly it's for your company or your platoon.
In the moment, it's definitely, I think, the bond you have with your brothers or sisters that you consider family, that it's through joint suffering. Like I think that's a key part, is how do you get so close? Like in my platoon, in my training, like there are people that I would never associate with, like as friends. I'm like, you're annoying, I don't like you, but they're like absolutely like brothers. Like they could call me and I would help them. They could text me anytime. And the only reason is because of joint suffering. Like it bound us with a bond that can't be anywhere else except through, I feel like, joint suffering.
Does that translate like when you're in the grocery store and you see a vet with a Marine hat on?
Yeah, I think it does. Like you see someone, and at the very least, that they know like what you both went through, and because of that, there's a mutual respect of like,
automatically.
Oh, yeah, you made it. Like you understand, and that has levels to it. Like that's the Marine Corps. As you go up into like more elite like types of service, like special operations, whether it's the SEALs or the Army Rangers, Green Beret, the MARSOC Raiders, all of those guys, they go through even more suffering, and they're even more tightly bound together. But it also allows them to function way more efficiently because they're basically reading each other's minds. Like at that point, they're so close.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who has the best uniforms of all military?
Marine Corps, hands down.
Why do you say that?
It just looks the coolest, man. Like that's like the uniform is so cool. It drives our recruiting. Like people want to be Marines because they want to look cool.
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like why else would you want to go through all that garbage when you could just go to another service and not have to put up with so much?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's the prestige of being a Marine because we cultivated a culture of excellence, and people want to be a part of that. That's a common recruiter tactic is you'll see kids that go into the Air Force, Army, Navy, and they say, well, they'll give me this scholarship. They'll do this much tuition reimbursement. And then the Marines will always say, like, hold on, like, we don't even know if we want you. Like, we don't know if you're good enough to be a Marine. So that the jury's still out on that. And that's where they get you.
I see.
If they get the people who are like, hold on, like, of course I'm good enough. Like, let me prove myself. Oh, yeah. You get
underdog.
and those are the
what you
people.
want.
This is the people we want. Is the people with the chip on their shoulder. And then they get the benefits of having the coolest uniform. And the other services would agree. Like, they all know we have the coolest uniforms.
You think so?
Absolutely. The dress blues, you cannot compete with the dress blues.
So the dress, so you, blue pants.
Blue pants. Officers have red blood stripe, and that's on the officer uniform and on the non-commissioned officer. So I should probably break that down just a little bit. So when on the enlisted side, you can become an officer, but there's a difference between commissioned officers and non-commissioned officers. When I'm referring to officers in the general sense, I'm referring to commissioned officers, like lieutenant, captain, all the way up to general. Non-commissioned officers are enlisted Marines who rise through the ranks, and they're like leaders of the enlisted group. They're like, would be like if the officer's the coach, they would be like a player captain.
Okay.
It would be like how that would work.
I see.
So all non-commissioned and commissioned officers have the blood stripe. So that's cool. Blue pants, black coat, gold buttons, gold medals, all that kind of stuff. And then officers and non-commissioned officers have swords. They have the cover, the white one. Super cool.
Sword. I mean, you can't beat a sword.
Can't beat a sword. We both have swords. They're different. And like that's all.
What do you mean you both have swords?
Non-commissioned and commissioned officers have swords, but they're different types of swords. Like, because that's all.
A saber?
Yeah, it's all based on tradition. Like, the reason why we carry a sword, it's in the shape of, like, what I would say, like an Eastern type of saber sword. Mm-hmm. It's not like a straight edge sword. And it comes from the Barbary pirates. So, like, that's steeped in Marine Corps history.
Interesting.
It's the first battle in which the American flag was held over a foreign entity in like our country's history. So what was happening is over on Tripoli, which is in like the Middle East, and I think Northern Africa, they were having Navy ships get seized by pirates, like off of Tripoli, the coast of Tripoli. And they sent the Marines there because they're like, a bunch of our sailors are being held captive and they keep wrecking our boats and taking them hostage. So the Marines went and stood their ground, charged into and took out the Barbary pirates that were located in Tripoli. And I think there was like some sort of internal political conflict at the time because the Marines, Lieutenant O'Bannon was his name. He was the head of the Marines that were in this fight. He like made a deal with, I think, the king's brother who like wanted to take the throne back. So they teamed up, they ousted him, and they hoisted the flag over their fort. And that was the first time the American flag had been hoisted over a foreign power. And as a reward, the brother who got reinstalled on the throne gave Lieutenant O'Bannon his sword, and that is the officer's sword.
Oh, really?
Is what it looks like. It's every officer carries that same type of sword, and it's to commemorate that battle.
So much tradition.
Yeah, steeped in tradition. Everything we do is tradition.
Yeah, even that, you mentioned the blood stripe on the blue pants.
Yeah, blood stripe, Chapultepec, and like all those battles that commemorate like war fighters of the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
pretty cool tradition.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, we got the best uniforms, hands down.
Well, Tom, thanks for coming back on.
Yeah,
I learned a lot.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Make me want to be a Marine.
Yeah, it's fun to reminisce. I mean, I'm not active duty anymore, but I do get to go on base as a reservist from time to time, and I love being around those guys. So
awesome. Okay, we'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.